Xiaomi 11T, the youngest contender, is due for a review, and let's just get done with this today. If you are watching my channel for the first time, hit that subscribe button and help me cross 100k subscribers. Also, if you find this video useful at some point, drop a like. Alright, as usual, I would like to talk about the design and the build. This phone has the DNA of the Poco F3. The back of this phone is not too different from the Poco F3, just a slightly more expanded camera array. The branding at the back is also the same, but I guess that's the same for all the Xiaomi, Redmi and Poco phones. The front is just like any other mid-range device of today, punch hole with those not too thick bezels. The camera hump at the back is not protruding like the old Xiaomi devices. I like that better now. The phone itself is thick and it's quite heavy too. It's a glass phone with Gorilla Glass Victus at the back and the front. You get that added protection. Xiaomi claims this phone to have an aluminium frame, but I cannot find any antennas on the sides, and this frame doesn't even feel cold either. So I believe it's a plastic frame. The phone does not have headphone jack, no micro SD card slot either. It accommodates 2 SIM cards, power button also acts as its fingerprint scanner. A second speaker along with the IR blaster can be seen on the top. And by the way, I am carrying this phone with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage. This is IP53 rated phone, which gives it splash protection and the dust resistance only. Moving on to the display, this phone is rocking a big 6.67 inches AMOLED screen. Its brightness peaks at about 1000 nits. Remember that this is just AMOLED and not Super AMOLED. The display works very well for the most part. You are not going to have any issues viewing the blacks or whites from different angles, and the colors even outside in the broad daylight look good. AMOLED displays are always good for smartphones, and this phone certainly has got it better as well. This is an HDR10 Plus compatible screen, but in the specs sheet inside the phone I can see only HDR10 compatibility. Watching HD videos on this phone is fun. I couldn't find any sharpness or contrast issues or any viewing angle issues on this phone. The bezels I think could be slimmer here, but that's alright. The camera punch hole is also quite notable. Since this is a 120Hz display, the animations look super responsive on it. The touch responsiveness is also good. The haptic feedback engine of this phone is also impressive. I like the clicky haptic feedback on it. The display also has always on display option, but it either stays on for a while, or you can just schedule it to stay on for a particular time period. The phone runs on MIUI 12 out of the box. This MIUI is not any different. It's the usual Xiaomi MIUI running on the top of Android 11. The UI has got the usual control center, or you can just switch back to the regular control center. Features like raise to wake, double tap to wake, and some gesture shortcuts like double tap fingerprint sensor to perform an action are notable in this UI. There is a memory extension feature. It grabs 3 gigs of your internal storage and uses it as virtual RAM. Other than this phone has its enterprise mode, screen recorder is there. The second space feature for privacy focused users is also there. And the animations, like I said, because of the 120Hz display, they are extremely fluid on the smartphone. Scrolling looks good, apps open and close swiftly. In terms of performance, I have a few concerns. This phone is powered by MediaTek Dimensity 1200 Ultra chipset. On paper, it's a very powerful chipset. Its benchmark scores, as you can see on the screen, are pretty high. I am showing you the Antutu benchmark right now, and the Geekbench score of this phone is quite impressive for this category as well. And this phone did pretty great in all of my speed tests, and this phone did pick some heat as well. That was a bit unusual amount of heat, especially when I throttled this phone for the battery drain test. The temperature was not something uncontrollable, but it's still a concern, and this phone needs a little bit of optimization. When it comes to gaming, this phone can run games better than any other mid-range device of the day. In fact, even better than its own brother, the Poco F3. It gives you the 90 frames per second for the PUBG Mobile. The game runs super smooth in this mode, without any hiccups, without any stutters and without any lags. My camera is set at 30 frames per second, but I am playing this game at 90 frames per second, so I hope you guys understand how it's working here. Games like COD Mobile and Asphalt 9 also run smooth on this phone. The display definitely adds charm to the gaming experience. Runner games are also a whole lot of fun. And with that huge screen real estate, like I said, the experience gets better not just for the viewing, not just for the sake of viewing, but the colors also look much better. Since this phone has a dual stereo speaker setup, the sound output is pretty loud, but it's not super crisp and clear. I think the sound also needs a little bit of optimization. This phone has a big 5000 mAh battery. You may think that there's no need to worry about the battery output, but wait, you need to go through my battery drain test first, where I put this phone up against 4 other mid-range devices, including the Poco F3, Samsung A52s 5G, OnePlus Nord 2 and another phone. This phone in that test died in 7 hours and 44 minutes. It was the first phone to die this early. In my opinion, the battery output of this phone is not up to the mark. It should have crossed 8 hours and 30 minutes, but it couldn't do that, and that's the flag number 1. To charge it, you have a 67 watt charger that comes inside the box. The charging is going to be super fast, no doubt about that, and this now leads us to the cameras. The phone has 3 rear cameras. The main camera is a 108 megapixel sensor that comes from Samsung. The rest of the camera details are on the screen. The camera app is powerful. It has HDR video mode. For the videos, it has 4K at 30 frames per second from the rear and 1080p at 30 frames per second from the front camera. The Pro mode is there with RAW support, and Pro video mode is also available. Camera app is feature rich and is capable of overwhelming the users. I have already published a full camera review of this phone and you can find that on the channel. I'll link it here as well. And for now, I'll just show you a few images. I am a little bit disappointed in the camera of this phone. The images are not up to the mark for that 108 megapixels sensor. Especially the high-res mode on this phone is a pure gimmick. It does not work. The images should have had more details and better colors in the high-res mode, but I cannot see that happening in any of the images captured in that high-res mode. The images come out fine in the standard mode. The edge detection is good. Depth effect is also good for the portrait images. This phone has very impressive video stability in all of its resolution modes, and its front camera video recording is just fine. The front camera video stability is not that good. To cut it short, this camera is not what Xiaomi has been trying to market. It's an average camera, and that 108 megapixels mode, just like I said, is poor and it's a pure gimmick. For more details, you can check out my camera review. And this now brings us to the conclusion. As always, I'll break down my conclusion into a few simple points. This phone has a good looking design, great and solid build as well. The display is huge. Brightness, colors, contrast are amazing. Hardware is powerful but needs enhancements to use the resources in an organized way. Software is just the usual MIUI, good for the MIUI fans. Battery life is poor. I wish and hope Xiaomi improves the battery life on this phone. Do not fall for the camera numbers. The 108 megapixels camera is not going to give you the DSLR like results or something out of this world. It's just an average camera, and at a price point of around $500, this phone seems a bit overpriced to me. It should have costed about $50 to $70 less. So in the end, the ball is in your court. Depending on what matters and what doesn't matter to you, you may or may not pick this phone up. Let me know about your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you haven't yet and subscribe too. With that being said, I will sign off and see you all in the next one.